This is Montana This Morning.
It's 5:30. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Victoria Hill and welcome to Montana This Morning. And good morning to our friend Miller here, the man with the weather plan. It was pretty cool yesterday.
It was.
A little bit of a drizzle. I don't know if you could call it a drizzle.
Yeah, there was something going on. It was a little moist out there, but that's all gone.
Okay.
Yeah, we are going to start to warm back up. We do have high pressure that's going to take over and dry us out as well. But it's not going to be extremely hot or anything like that. It's just going to be above seasonal. We actually do have a stretch of some really nice weather on the way, especially when we get to Friday. We'll show you that here in just a bit. The big story this morning is we do have that cloud deck and it is humid. That means we have a chance to see some patchy fog as we get up this morning. 36 right now at the airport. Look at that humidity at 82%. The dew point's at 31 degrees. The closer it gets to our actual temperature, we have a better chance of seeing some of that patchy fog. So just keep that in mind as you're heading out this morning. Winds out of the east at about 3 miles an hour. Take a look at temperatures across the area. Clark at 36, down in Powell we're at 32, up in Livingston at 36, Harlingen sitting at 34, as well as Broadview, Huntley at about 35 right now. You're going to see a lot of 50s across the area today. That's back near seasonal, but we're only going to get warmer as we move forward because of downslope flow. We'll tell you how warm we're going to get with that main forecast coming up here in just a bit. We'll go with a high today here in Billings of about 55, so pretty much on target where we should be. All right, today's Miller's random number of the day, a good one for a morning show. It's about coffee, 70,000. What's that have to do with coffee? It's up on my Facebook page if you want to take a guess, or email me your responses. The answer coming up before 6 o'clock. Victoria.
We start here in Billings, where a shooting at Lake Elmo lands a teenager behind bars and another in the hospital. It happened just after 6 o'clock last night near the pier. A 14-year-old boy accused of shooting a 15-year-old is in custody. The young victim is in the hospital. Police say they are investigating, and so far any information like a motive for the shooting or the condition of the 15-year-old has not been released. It's not only Billings police responding to those shootings. Billings Fire Chief Pepper Valdez says the uptick in violent crime is tying up his resources as well. It's part of the reason he's asking Billings residents to vote yes on the upcoming mill levy. Right now, the fire engines respond to crimes when someone is injured, but if the levy is approved, the fire department will establish medical response teams. Those two-person crews in light vehicles could respond to crimes where injuries are less severe, saving the engine for the most serious incidents. The levy is up for a vote on November 2nd. It will cost $100 a year or $8 a month on homes valued at $200,000. Also on that ballot, voters will have a chance to decide if recreational marijuana dispensaries will be allowed in city limits. If approved, there will be limits on where they can open. Those within the marijuana industry say the proposed zones don't offer enough space that's realistic for new businesses to purchase. And some city council members worry the latest proposal would open up the possibility of having dispensaries concentrated on the city's south side.
The area around there is all low income. I mean, we've seen it 100 times. So good to look at it more, but I'm really concerned about impacting the south side and north and southwest corridor.
The council will see a first reading on marijuana business regulation at its next meeting next week on October 25th. Turning to the latest on the pandemic, officials at a Helena hospital claim they were threatened by state officials for not treating a COVID-19 patient with ivermectin. The Attorney General's office confirms AG Austin Knudsen spoke on the phone with St. Peter's Hospital executives but denied any threat was made. The office says Knudsen was only looking into allegations the patient's rights were being violated. St. Peter's officials said in a statement, any efforts to exert pressure on our providers, including by public officials, will not result in deviation from widely accepted clinical treatment protocols or our hospital policy. Ivermectin has not been approved by the FDA to treat COVID-19. Those studies are being done to test its effectiveness against the virus. Here in Billings, the director of the emergency department at St. Vincent Healthcare says they cannot and will not deny care at the emergency room. Last week, a woman claimed she was told the hospital did not have room and she was forced to take her husband to Wyoming for emergency surgery. But hospital officials say they have a legal and ethical obligation to help anyone who comes to their doors. Officials said they can't speak to last week's allegations directly, but said they are happy the patient was able to get care in Wyoming. There is new information about the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccine, especially in children. CBS's Laura Podesta has the latest, including news on boosters we could be hearing as soon as today.
It's a big day for boosters. The CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices today will begin a 2-day meeting to discuss whether to recommend the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson COVID booster shots. Also, as soon as today, the FDA is expected to authorize mixing and matching of different boosters, which research suggests could provide better immunity in many cases. All this as a new study is out showing the vaccine is even more effective against hospitalization for kids than it is for adults. For children, the shots are 93% effective against hospitalization. For adults who are not immunocompromised, it's 88% effective. Doctors are thrilled.
This is great real-world data that should urge parents to vaccinate their kids.
But there's still resistance in pockets of the country from people hesitant to get their shots.
I'll be fired tonight by the city of Spokane.
Individuals like this firefighter in Washington state are among a wave of first responders in cities around the country choosing to lose their jobs rather than get the jab.
America isn't one size fits all.
And groups, including these parent protesters in California, are pushing back against standing or upcoming vaccine mandates in their states.
I am vaccinated, but I do think that people should have a choice on whether they get vaccinated or not, because the vaccine has been out for that long.
A little more than 65% of eligible Americans are fully vaccinated. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
That same CDC Advisory Committee beginning its 2-day meeting today on boosters is also set to reconvene in the first week of November to discuss vaccinating children ages 5 to 11. And the commission that will draw Montana's 2 new congressional districts is getting close to a final decision and got an earful Tuesday on what it should do. Scores of people appeared before the 5-member panel at a day-long hearing at the Capitol to weigh in on 9 proposed maps. MTN chief political reporter Mike Dennison was there and tells us what was said and the schedule for what comes next.
Montana Republicans organized a rally outside the Capitol Tuesday morning before the hearing and packed the meeting to testify in person for the GOP submitted maps. Those 4 proposals split the state into eastern and western districts and either put all or part of Bozeman and Gallatin County into the eastern district. Republicans said they make sense geographically, and whether they're politically competitive should not be a factor.
The things I keep hearing about it being competitive and the partisan issues here, I think are inappropriate. It's important to stick to the constitutional intent, that we balance that population and make it make sense when you look at a map, so it's not something with some crazy puzzle piece missing.
Republicans also slammed the Democratic proposals as blatant gerrymandering meant to create a pro-Democratic district. State Representative Derek Skees of Kalispell even brought a pumpkin carved with one of the Democratic districts to make his point.
This North-South district is a joke. It puts 3 of the 4 fastest growing communities inside this district. So within just a few years, this district will outpace the other district. I really hope that you realize that this is not a treat, this is a total trick.
But many of the citizens testifying Tuesday via Zoom favored the Democratic proposals. Richard Lyon, a Bozeman attorney, said the growing communities in southwestern Montana should be together in one district, and that the GOP proposals are nakedly partisan. Yet Roseanne Nash of the League of Women Voters said none of the 9 maps meet all of the desired goals of engaging voters, political parity, and keeping communities of interest in the same districts.
The commission will have to balance these goals. Montana independent commissions have done a good job in the past, and this commission can succeed in drawing a map that's fair to all Montana voters.
The commission meets again on Thursday to vote on a tentative final map. Commission Chair Maylin Smith told me it's more likely the commission on Thursday will choose a hybrid of the finalist maps, making some tweaks in response to public comment. Then possibly one last hearing before the commission takes an expected final vote on October 30th. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thank you so much, Mike. Also making headlines this morning, President Joe Biden's social spending package will look a lot smaller if it passes. The president announced he will drop the tuition-free community college and would reduce the amount of money for home care for the elderly and disabled. The president said the final bill will likely carry a price tag of just under $2 trillion. His original proposal was $3.5 trillion. Now we go to Missoula, where a man is charged with deliberate homicide for running over his girlfriend in a grocery store parking lot. A witness says Bradley Nagel drove his pickup over Lucille Skynick. The witness says the couple was arguing and Nagel got inside his vehicle. Skynick grabbed onto the pickup near the driver's side rear wheel well. Nagel told police he wanted to get away from Skynick and cool off, but she refused to let go of the truck. That's when the witness says he drove over her, crushing her head and neck area. Skynick was then taken to the hospital where she later died. Nagel's bail was set at $1 million. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6 Capitol riots voted unanimously to recommend former President Trump aide Steve Bannon be found in criminal contempt of Congress. Bannon has been ignoring the committee's subpoenas as it probes the uprising. The full House will vote on the recommendation tomorrow. If passed, it would then advance to the Justice Department for potential prosecution. Today, the suspect in the 2018 mass shooting at a Florida high school will plead guilty. 23-year-old Nicholas Cruz faces 17 counts of first-degree murder for the shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland. Up next, a jury will determine if he should be sentenced to death or spend the rest of his life in prison without the chance for parole. That phase of the trial could happen in January. A new FBI report shows more than 60,000 police officers were assaulted on the job last year. The FBI says the number of assaults jumped by more than 4,000 from 2019. 31% of those officers assaulted suffered injuries. The FBI says most of the assaults happened when officers responded to disturbance calls, such as family fights and bar fights. The report shows 46 officers were killed in the line of duty, which was down from 48 in 2019. In the first 9 months of this year, 54 officers have been killed in the line of duty. Facebook is in trouble again. The social media giant has to pay up after the Department of Justice says the company discriminated against U.S. workers in favor of immigrants with special visas. Facebook will pay a $4.75 million fine and up to $9.5 million to eligible victims to settle the Justice Department's lawsuit. The company will also have to train employees in anti-discrimination rules and conduct more widespread job searches. Today, the Brazilian Senate is expected to recommend charges against the country's president for his handling of the pandemic. A 1,200-page report is expected to recommend mass homicide and other charges against him. The report will also recommend charges against nearly 70 other people, including 3 of the president's sons. Brazil has the second highest coronavirus death toll in the world, behind the United States, with more than 600,000 deaths. In much lighter news, Hawaii is once again ready to say aloha to tourists. The state's governor says COVID-19 case counts and hospitalizations are now low enough for the island's tourism industry to welcome visitors. The move comes 2 months after travelers were urged to stay away because of the aggressive Delta variant. Thank you so much for starting your Wednesday with us here on Montana This Morning.